Hey there, I'm Jeniffer Thompson, and today we have a special treat for you. I will be doing an interview for Warwick's of La Jolla. Warwick's is one of the oldest bookstores in the nation, and it is fantastic. If you have a chance to go visit, I recommend it. In fact, buy all of their books. Every book they have is good, including this one. All right, let's listen. Fun did you have writing this book?
So much fun.
I could tell.
Yeah, you can tell. It was strangely fun, and I didn't expect that because everybody always said writing is so hard, and I think I have to admit that I think writing songs was harder in some way than the feeling of just, maybe it's because I always collaborated, and it wasn't that the collaborators were difficult in any way, it was just the process was different. And I'd always been a reader since I was a little girl. I love disappearing into fiction, whether in a film or a story within a song. Songs have stories within them, and of course novels. And so since early childhood, that was my favorite place to escape to. And now with audiobooks, I'm always either, even if I'm just cooking or washing the dishes, I have the audiobook on, and then I'll go back to the e-reader, and there's always a story. I think part of it is a coping mechanism, just so I don't ruminate about my own problems or worries. The minute I catch myself doing that, I'm like, grab the Kindle or, pick up the book.
Escape.
It's escapist. Let's just admit it.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
But I guess it's like a safe form of, escaping into something that you actually learn from. And I think, so that's.
And this bird has flown is such an escape because it's love, sex, rock and roll. And
it's all of those
fun things that you get to do.
Yeah.
And there's no shame in any of it. It's wonderful. Did you always want to be a novelist? Did you know this was in your future? How did this come to be?
Well, I think I did. I think because I was always a reader. And again, that love of disappearing into fiction. But it was, I think I found a couple of notebooks from 1989. I had started something as the Bangles were winding down. But it was not really in earnest. It was just an idea. And then I'd actually co-written a whole bunch of screenplays, and a lot of them were optioned by movie studios, but then they kind of languished in the studio system. They kind of get stuck in development hell. And on those projects, I wrote with other people. And it was really fun, and I loved, just like with songwriting, I loved the collaboration. And it wasn't until I had just found out that a script that I wrote actually with Jay's writing partner Larry Stuckey, and Warner Brothers had bought it, that again, it got stuck in development hell and shelved. And our older son Jackson just said, Mom, I was kind of bereft after that happened. I thought all this, I spent a year and a half or more living, breathing the story, only to know that it might never see the light of day. And our older son Jackson said, Mom, why don't you write a novel? And there was a big pregnant pause, and I'm like, yeah, why don't I? Why don't I? So then it was spring break that year, and we went to New York to see some theater, and my son Sam, Jay and my son Sam was with us. And during that whole week, I kept crafting my sort of the plot line, the storyline and then when we were flying back, Jackson said, okay, enough about pitching me your storyline. Tomorrow, Mom, I want you to wake up in the morning, open your computer, stare at the blank page, and just start. And I was like, okay,
really
kid.
Good advice.
Good advice, and that's what I did. And I wrote a couple pages. They're not the same as the opening of This Bird Has Flown, the current, this version that's been published. But I wrote about 2 pages, and then I had my mom and dad come over. I needed witnesses. So I had my mom, my dad, Jackson and Sam and Jay over, and I was like, okay, I'm going to read to you guys what I wrote. They really enjoyed those first few pages, and then I was off to the races. Then it was like, put on the red shoes like that film, and I couldn't stop dancing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, did it take shape right out of the gate? Did you have any course correction, or tell us about the process?
Gosh, it was over a period of years. So one of the things that helped, I mean, I didn't really have it all figured out, to be honest. It was strange, and I don't know, because this is my first book, and so other writers in the house, you might know, and of course you might know. It was like I would go on a walk in the morning, and I would listen to music, as I always do, and I knew enough about the protagonist and sort of basic ideas, but the songs would sort of, it was trigger this, almost this feeling like a movie screen had come down and I was watching the story of the book. And the characters would literally start talking, and I would stop by the side of the road and take my phone and email myself what they were saying, because I learned the hard way that if I thought, oh, that's such a good idea, I'll never forget that, I immediately would forget it.
You totally forget it.
Totally forget it. So I got in this habit of leaving Post-it notes and paper and a pen by the bed, because I started dreaming about the story. Like, the story wouldn't let me go. It became, it was so strange. For years, this was the case, that the story would just appear to me.
How many years did it take?
It was like, I mean, to be honest, I'm a little embarrassed to say how long it took, but there were other things that intervened in my life. It wasn't like I had every day of these years, but I started the book in 2015. I started it.
That is not a long time.
Okay.
So you're clear.
Okay,
Everyone in the
good.
room is like, and
then,
if you knew.
And then it took until that, and then when Little Brown bought the book in May of 2021, things really started to ramp up. But even then, when I finally got a book agent, because a friend of mine who's a novelist pried this giant manuscript out of my hand and said, she read it overnight, which she must have stayed up all night reading, and she's like, you've got to get this to an agent. I'm like, but is it ready? And she said, yes. But I needed that push from a dear friend. So thank you to Margaret Stoll for that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Jane.
Yeah, okay. I love Jane.
One of my favorite things about Jane is she's an anachronism.
Yeah.
Right? So she's 33.
Yeah.
She's in our modern world, but she's so an 80s girl.
Do you think?
Oh my God, yeah.
Oh, well, I didn't know that.
Anyone? Okay, maybe it's because I'm an 80s girl.
I guess I clearly am.
But honestly, it's like 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. Like, she is, like, the cultural touch points, like, run the gamut.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So talk to us more about, like, how much fun you had, like, just pulling from your favorite everything to create Jane.
Well, I mean, early on in the book, I was wondering what her job should be in life, and I toyed with the idea of actress, because living with Jay, we're about to celebrate our 30th.
Wait, she wasn't always a musician?
For a second, she was an actress, maybe. Maybe more than a second, like for a few days. But then I thought, I have this opportunity, having been in the music business and being a musician too. I make a distinction between the music business and being a musician, by the way, that I could pull from. I knew what that would feel like. I knew that wherever I put this character, wherever I moved her in the little board inside my imagination, like a game board, she was going to, I would understand what the feelings would be. I liked that I wanted her to be someone whose emotions are very close to the surface, because I just thought that was fun to write about. I like how much she loves people. She loves connecting with people. She does it sometimes a little too quickly and a little too easily, and that gets her into trouble. She has a really open heart, and so therefore her heart gets broken as well, because she just, doesn't see something coming, that, something in a person's character, a flaw or something that will, her heart is big, but it's easily broken. So that was a character aspect that I thought I could write about. And she has a really great friend group too. There's a lot of elements, and I don't want to give spoilers, because you guys most of you have not read the book, so we'll be really careful not to spoil surprises for you.
But we can talk about the sex scenes.
Oh yeah, the sex scenes. There's lots of them. I would have just written like all sex scenes.
I know. I was like, erotica all the way.
Yeah, it was practically erotica.
I loved. Oh, it was.
Was it?
Oh yeah.
Okay, good. Because it was. Let me just say, it was for me.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Good for Jay.
I remember writing stuff and just feeling like, wait.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Writing sex scenes is hard. I love.
Hard in what way?
Well, it depends on who's writing it.
I didn't actually. It was an unintentional pun, but it was actually like a gift from heaven.
That was a total gift.
Yeah, but
What I love most about Jane is she's like so liberated and sexually sure.
Yeah.
And a lot of the women in the room, in my era, it wasn't okay to like sex.
Yeah.
To be okay with sex, right? And like if you liked sex, maybe there was something wrong with you, or you were.
Well, I was raised by a psychoanalyst, so everything was like
Yeah.
about sex and death and
Yeah,
themes.
she was just incredibly confident.
Yeah.
In her womanhood, right? Which I love.
I think so. Yeah. I think she's very. She feels every little thing very intensely, including sex.
Including
sex,
as one
Yeah.
should.
Yeah.
Now, her insecurities were about her voice. So,
Well, it wasn't about her
Performing.
voice performing. She suffers from the old stage fright. Yeah. So for her to, and this is something that I can share as a singer, and it's not something that you kind of internalize these things when you've been playing music for decades. So the book was a kind of fun excuse to kind of unpack how it all works.
yeah.
So, but I know, so when I'm dreaming of Jane walking out onto a stage and just like I'm looking out at this audience, which is you guys, and you're staring at me and I'm staring at you, and I'm like, I'm the part of tonight that is the most scary for me is picking up that thing over there called the guitar and singing. But no, that's scarier than chatting about the book. There's just like a weird little moment where you have to kind of like flip a switch and go, okay, now you have to, despite feeling nervous, despite having people staring, not in a bad way. I'm not criticizing. No, but you're in front of an audience, and you have to somehow relax into this other thing and be comfortable with it. It's just like a transition moment. So I was able to write about that in the book.
And you did such a good job.
Thank you.
There were times when I was so stressed out for Jane because of her
too.
procrastination.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, oh my God, you have got to start writing.
I know.
And she would start to, and there's always something that comes up.
I
And
know.
as a writer,
Yeah.
I know this feeling.
Oh, yeah.
And I would get really stressed out for her.
Me too. Me too. I worried a lot for her, and
Yeah.
I cared about all the characters too. I'm like the mother of all the characters in a way. They're like my children or something.
totally
so
are.
So I was worrying about all of them, and I love writing characters that you, in quotes, love to hate. I love writing about people with, like, about dysfunction, because it's a human thing.
Indeed.
We're flawed
Yeah.
by nature, and it's our flaws that make us interesting in a way. And so there's some characters in the book that I had endless fun. I don't want to give too much away and say when she gets to this place or that place, she meets these people, but she meets a lot of people in this journey that she's on in the book. And there were some that were just so fun to write because they were so, I don't know what the word is, sort of pompous or egotistical or loudish,
Well, and it feels very true to the music industry too. Like some of these egos in the book, I imagine are based on.
There's a rock star character who's quite complicated.
Right.
Yes, very complicated. Yes.
Of course, the question is, who is it? But no, we won't ask that.
Well, yeah, that's a good question. I think it takes many people to make a character.
Indeed.
Don't you think?
Totally.
So you draw from this person or that person. You make it up in your imagination. I did have a mood board sometimes that I would look at just for how to describe the shape of a face or,
Cool.
That was fun. Just for a little inspo.
I love it.
Yeah.
Talk about your writing space and your writing process.
Well, it's basically I'm in my pajamas all day.
Nice.
I don't care who knows it. Now you guys do. It's like you don't have to go out of the house. And you don't have to dress up for anybody. Maybe I should change that and like put a suit on when I write at home, barefoot. No, but
I wonder if it would change the story.
I'm surely it would. Yeah. I might try that. But anyway, so I would just be really comfortable, and I have my coffee maker right there. My coffee machine was like my friend during all of it. And I would. You were asking about the process of it?
And your writing space.
Oh,
Like,
my
where do you
space.
like
Yes,
to
yes, yes.
write?
So I moved around the house. There was a period of time where I wrote at the kitchen table. That worked for a while. And then I stood at the kitchen island. But then I ended up writing at a little folding card table, a crappy little card table. And I had a chair that's really uncomfortable that has a bunch of blankets on it. It's really not fancy. And then Jay set me up with an external monitor because my head was like this all the time on my laptop. And then I like go, oh, and it's sitting there like that for 6 hours.
Yeah.
So I could look at the screen there and my fingers would be doing that.
Nice.
And it helped. Thanks, Jay.
Thank you, Jay. It really helps to have a supporter,
Yeah.
who's there to leave you alone when you need it,
Yeah.
to bring you coffee or an extended monitor when you need it.
In this case, the monitor.
Makes a big difference.
I was good with the coffee, making it myself. But yes, keep going.
But to have that person who like lets you, because I think writing is, it's so insular, right? It's all you in your head with your characters. And, and you're on the page boyfriend.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
Yes.
How much?
So cool.
So toward the end of the process, I imagine you really started the editing process. Talk to us about that.
I had some good readers, and I was very scared to share my manuscript. Finally, my friend Margaret Stoll, who's a YA novelist primarily, she just insisted, and she read it overnight. And she said, you have to send this to a literary agent. And I said, well, I don't know any. She goes, how about the one that I work with? And Sarah Burns had come from editing herself. She is based in New York. She edited the book The Lovely Bones, for example, which is a great book.
Yeah.
And so Sarah, on my 60th birthday, so this is several years back, my son Jackson, the one who had compelled me to get going on it, he offered to take it out in the pouring rain in LA to the FedEx for me, and Sarah got it. Because I was having lunch with Belinda Carlisle from the Go-Go's that day on my birthday, that momentous, scary birthday. So Sarah got it the next day, read it overnight, and then she happened to be visiting one of her kids who was in LA because she's based in New York. Said, let's get together. So I thought that was a good sign, but I had a recording session on an album I was working on, so I couldn't. But because I knew Jay and I were heading to New York for a little visit there, I ended up flying with Jay to New York, and then I met her at her office, and it was a very momentous, very freezing January day. And I was like, I cried a little tear as I was heading to the office, a literary agency office, to meet an agent who really liked my book after all those solitary years alone working on it and afraid to let it out of my hands because I didn't think it was ready to share.
Yeah.
And she took me to this really, like where all the authors go with their literary agents, and it was all like it was almost like from the 1950s or something. It was an experience of, in my mind, it felt like that. And it just went from there. Sarah had been such a good editor, so she had really great notes, and then eventually Little Brown, we went out to publishers, and she warned me, the week you go out, it's crickets. You don't hear anything, so don't panic, don't freak out. But by about Wednesday of that week, I called her and I said, I am freaking out a little. I'm freaking out, like what's happening? And she said, and then she started to get like feedback. And Judy Klain, who had edited Julie and Julia, Where'd You Go, Bernadette, so many great novels, who's now the head of one of the head editors, editor-in-chief, I think, at Little Brown. She was reading the book, and I got this intel that she was loving it.
Awesome.
And I was sitting with Margaret, who was the one who put me with Sarah. She just started to cry, and I said, why are you crying? She goes, Judy Klain is reading your book. Because I know music people, but I didn't know Judy Klain. I didn't know what that meant.
Right.
And then it just went from there. I had my first Zoom was with Little Brown, and then they just the next day made me a preemptive offer, and they clearly loved the book, and I just wanted to be with someone who loved it genuinely. And so it's just been a wonderful ride since then.
I wanted to ask you how different the publishing industry has been to the music industry, because a lot of people compare the two.
Yeah.
And how has it been for you?
Well, it's been very different. It's a very different world. Mm-hmm. And also, I don't think of myself in the music business much anymore because I've been so indie about what I do. I think because I found the music business so daunting and kind of hard to navigate. Not to say I didn't work with amazing people. It's just, I don't know how to explain it. It's you feel it's hard to maintain your voice in a certain way. And of course, I was in a band, and even after that, as a solo artist, it was just kind of school of hard knocks coming off of the Bangles ride, which is fine. That's how it's not always just rolling out the red carpet, it can be more of a struggle. And times have changed so much. It's so much easier now with social media, Instagram, TikTok. People can make their own way. They don't even need a record company. It's much better environment, I think, for indie artists. And I always had a DIY kind of aspect to how I did everything, even those early Bangles gigs, the flyers I used to make, finding my bandmates through an ad that I placed, putting flyers around town. It's always felt most comfortable to me.
Yeah.
But Little Brown has been an amazing home.
Nice.
Yeah.
You've also just released an album.
Yeah, I know.
It's been
so
quite
weird. It's all coming out at the same time. I guess the pandemic, because writing, you could just stay home and you need to do the work on revisions and things like that. I found a way to bubble up with the great Peter Asher, who produced James Taylor, Linda Ronstadt albums, and ran Apple Records when the Beatles first created Apple Records, and was in the band Peter and Jeremy's, an icon in the music business. He reached out to me in the darkest days of the pandemic and said, "Let's make a record." And I was like, "I'm there."
And your backing band was Mellow Mafia?
Well, yeah, they have a lot of different names. They were the band that played on so many records of the 70s, like Linda Ronstadt records, is Russ Kunkel on drums, Leland Sklar on bass, Danny Korchmar and Waddy Wachtel on guitars. It was just a infamous,
and
awesome.
It's beautiful too.
Thank you.
Really, really
Thank
beautiful.
you so much. Yeah.
Speaking of beautiful, does anyone here want to hear her play?
Oh.
Just a thought.
Yeah, okay. Okay, this is the scary part. Bang, playing.
We always like to start out with a bang.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the new album.
Speaking of, does Jane play a Rickenbacker?
Actually, in the book. Oh no, that was the film. So Universal bought the rights. So I've just written the screenplay, and now I'm getting confused between the version of the book.
Congratulations.
Yeah, in the book, there's the movie is different. The screenplay has to be a little different than the book. But you were asking, does Jane play
a Rickenbacker?
I never wrote. I don't think that's expressly written in the book.
It's not.
Yeah. So this is a song from the new album, but it's a Rolling Stones song, and I love the Rolling Stones, and I love the Beatles, of course, but I also love the Rolling Stones, and I've listened to the song a million times. So it's somewhere along the journey of working on the book and going on my walks and listening to music, hit me about the lyrics of this song, and I thought that they were due for a little bit of a revision, to use book speak. So let's see. Let me get the tone on. Let's see. Wait, what capital am I? Okay, yeah. Under my thumb, the boy who once had me down. Under my thumb, the boy who once pushed me around. It's down on me, yes it is. The difference in the clothes he wears. Under me, the change has come. He's under my thumb. That's right. Listen. Under my thumb,
He's a squirming dog who's just had his day under my thumb. A boy who has just changed his ways. It's down on me, yes it is. The difference in the clothes he wears down to me. The change has come, he's under my thumb. And it's alright. Okay, that's that one.
And that's on the latest album, The Deep
Yes. That song is on the record. I'll just stick this over here.
I think the music in the book is one of the best parts, right? So the name's a lot of the chapters.
Yes.
Did those come from your walks or like
those? Yeah. A lot of that came from my walks and the playlist I was listening to. And I realized there was a kind of almost a poetic association I was having between how much Jane loves music, how much she listens to music, how people in the book that she meets also love music, and how love and music and love of music. I mean, on the opening thing, what do you call it? Dedication. It's to let's see, to music lovers and lovers everywhere.
Nice.
Yeah. And Jay, you're not offended that I didn't dedicate it to you.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. He's a lover.
He's a lover,
counts.
yeah. And a music lover. Exactly. But yeah, so as I went along in the writing, and so much of it just ideas that pop into your mind, I began to realize that I could use songs as chapter headings. Mm-hmm. So that was super, super fun.
Yeah.
And then I would listen to the songs. Like there's one that's Sexual Healing, Marvin Gaye.
Yeah.
And I just like every time, it just delighted me that I had a chapter heading called Sexual Healing. And I could hear the Marvin Gaye song in my head. And I was like, wake up, wake up, wake up. You know, all that stuff. It was so fun.
Is there a playlist somewhere on Spotify?
Yeah, it's on my Spotify.
All right.
Yeah.
Because you know we're all going to be listening.
Yeah, please go to my Spotify and find the This Bird Has Flown playlist.
So did your publisher had to get rights for the copyright?
No, not for song titles. You only have to do it if you use a lyric. That's a cool thing. The title you can have.
Okay.
Yeah, this is something, thank God, or I would have been like in deep shit. I mean,
very deep shit, yeah.
Think about it, how much that would cost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Indeed. I was like, wow.
A title is separate from like, if you want to use a verse or a chorus from it, that's a different thing. I wanted to be able to break into song on the audiobook because Jane starts breaking into song, and that was sad because you're not allowed to do that.
You can't do that.
No. I want to be like, in Spain, you know, when she's singing My Fair Lady.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, so I did it for you guys. But I didn't do it very well. I mean, when I was rewriting it, I'd do it as I was writing. Sometimes I would read aloud to see if things were working.
Nice.
Yeah.
And you recorded your audiobook.
I did.
Very cool.
And an audio reader that I love who had read the Jane Eyre that changed my life because the language is quite antiquated and very dense. Mm-hmm. And Juliet Stevenson, who's an actress, a British actress, her reading of Jane Eyre really blew my mind because it just suddenly I got past the antiquated language in part, and I could see that Mr. Rochester and Jane were actually sparring and teasing each other rather than him being kind of a dick.
Right.
Yeah. Because, you know, he's a bit arrogant.
Yeah.
You know, and kind of, yeah, I mean, he's a complicated character. But she brought out this side of him where Jane's holding her own and they're sparring. And it's like a tango they're doing. And the language had been too old-fashioned for me to sort of get through to it. But her rendering of it changed, so that a reader can make a difference.
Well, how did the book setting end up being in London anyway? Well, in Oxford.
Yes. Well, we don't want to give too much away, but the characters meet.
But you, I mean, how did you land on having the characters in Oxford?
Well, that's tied to the last question, actually, because I wanted to have, because Jane Eyre and to some extent the book Rebecca, which is a very Jane Eyre-esque story, I like the idea of kind of a Gothic setting from these two Gothic romances. So I thought the city of Oxford itself in England, Jackson, the son who, compelled me to get going on the book, he was doing an abroad program at Oxford. And I visited him and I took in the sights and sounds and feel of that city. And I went, wow, this could be the Gothic setting that I need, even though it's a book set in modern time.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Julie, how much time do we have, you think?
One more question, then we'll go to audience.
One more question.
That's okay.
Can we expect more books from Susanna Hoffs?
Absolutely. I've got I'm addicted now. I'm addicted.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for writing this wonderful book.
Thank you.
I hope you guys have enough copies for everyone in this room to walk away with this wonderful book. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Right here.
There we
you're
go.
about to have your 30th wedding anniversary?
Yeah. April 17th.
Really?
Yes.
Hey.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
What do your kids think of the final copy?
Well, I don't know that they've read it. Yeah. Those brats. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know that they have. No, Jay's shaking. Jay's going, yeah. But, yeah, I hope
They must be
it's
proud
cool.
of you,
It might be a
though.
little weird for them because some of the things, yeah. Mom. What,
They love to really try.
yeah, Jackson, Sam's never read it, our younger kid, who's 24, right? Yeah. He should be fine with it by now.
Yeah.
But Jackson read earlier drafts. Yeah, so we'll see. Good question.
Gentleman in the back in the hat.
I don't know what it's like to write a book, but writing music is always, or recording music is hard because you don't know when it's finished. For me, did you have a hard time knowing that the book was finished at some point? Or?
Yeah, it's such an interesting question because you have to walk away while the paint is still wet in a certain way. And I kept telling myself that, but I'm still like, should I have used that verb or that verb? Like, I'm still like, it's very hard to let go, I'm finding. But now that it's this, and it's an actual hardback
baby
book, I kind of have to. And I have this, the good news is because I get to work on the screenplay for Universal, I have another chance to still at least live with the characters and be in their world and enjoy them because I enjoy them so much.
Well, it begs the question, will Jane have another adventure?
Well, I would like her to. I'm toying with the idea of, I got the wonderful opportunity to meet Taylor Jenkins Reid, who wrote Daisy and the Six, and we went out to lunch, and it was so fun chatting with her. And I know, I'd mostly read that book, and I just started Malibu Rising, but she does a thing where she does prequels, and then the characters wind up, there's some way that she weaves them in again. And so, because I've only really had read Daisy and the Six, and now I'm starting one, and I'm sensing that Malibu Rising leads to characters that will later, So I would like to do something where I could keep a few of my characters somehow involved in the story. Yeah.
Awesome.
Do you see them visually, like in your head?
I saw everyone so vividly, except for Jane. I kept her kind of a blank slate for myself. I don't know why. That's so strange, because you would have thought it was the other way around. And I think I mentioned I had this mood board with just faces. So when I'd be writing about the shape of a face or just some aspect, every once in a while, they mostly were, I saw them somehow kind of blurrily in my imagination. But There were certain actors that came to mind that, that I kind of cast them in my mind. Because like I said, I kind of visualized the story unfolding. I kind of watched it like a movie in my mind. I could see where Tom's flat was. I could see the neighbor who lives downstairs. I could see a pub that they go to. I could see, you just paint the pictures in your mind.
Does that make you excited for casting or like?
Oh no, very, very, very excited.
Yeah.
Very.
Yes, sir.
Hi, Susanna.
Hi.
David, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
So I just wanted to first say that listening to you, the Bangles, your music really helped me get through the pandemic. On the first day when I really made that. So I'm curious what music got you through that time, that 2020, and if that time had a specific impact on the book, considering it was released in 2021 when you kind of finalized it.
Oh, well, when they bought it, Little Brown bought it, but then it would, so now it's just come out last week. Well, music is everything. I always say music is the beginning, middle, and end of every day for me, no matter what. Like, it's a coping mechanism. It's a drug, but a really, really safe drug. Yeah. So I have songs for when I'm sad and when I'm happy and when I need to be brave. And people throughout the course of my life, actually, Jay, what's the name of the guy who works on Succession? One of the producers, the really tall guy. No.
Oh, you mean the actor?
No. He's like I once told him, no. It's the guy.
Scott Ferguson.
Yeah, I think Scott Ferguson. I was once at a movie biz party, maybe Jay's saying an HBO party, and I was saying that I always listen to a certain song when I have to go do something that I'm scared to do. It might have been Spirit in the Sky. You know that song? Yeah, Norman Greenbaum.
And Jane does this on the plane.
Yeah, well, I wanted to share. This is, and Jay did it for the first time.
Oh, nice.
So I'll play you a little bit. So there's the whole idea of like interweaving song titles and song cues, and the characters all love music. So this is a little something that I've been doing ever since I was able to. When I get on a plane, I do a lucky tap. I gave Jane this thing on the outside of the plane, but also when the plane is taking off, Jane has a song that she really depends on to listen to. It's like a total ritual that she can't get on a plane and fly without. So this is the song that she listens to. I'll play you a little bit of it. Can you hear it? I want to.
That is Shaft.
And Jay did it for the first time ever. I listened to this on the flight here. Can you hear it?
Yeah. A little bit, yeah. Everyone loves it.
I know. And it's really cool. Just wait for when the flutes come in, that's right when the wheels lift off. It's amazing how it times. Seriously. And you sort of feel like, everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
It'll be okay. Yeah, even if the plane's kind of bouncing, this gets me through.
Nice.
And of course, when the lyrics come in, Shafts,
I think we should start a movement.
I started a movement without knowing it, that I did this lucky tap on the outside of the plane before I crossed. Just on the skin of the plane.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, just 3 taps. And this was something I did all through the 80s. And somehow it got spread around in the music community of LA to do this tapping thing. But then cut to decades later, I'm at an HBO party, and Lena Dunham and Girls, the show Girls is like really popular at the time, winning all these awards. And Jenny Connor, who's the co-creator or the producer or something with Lena Dunham, says to Lena Dunham, and I'm kind of in awe that I'm meeting them at this party, and she's like, should I tell Susanna about the thing? And she's like, what thing? And she goes, oh yeah, just go tell her. She goes, so apparently through various musicians, they do the tap those of us who are a little afraid of flying, but they say my name 3 times.
Oh.
So they say, Susanna Hoffs, Susanna Hoffs, Susanna Hoffs. And so people now have come up to me and say, say your name every time I get on a plane and do the lucky tap thing. So it was just kind of a funny moment that I had no idea.
I think it's better that way.
I think so too. It was just like, what? Yeah.
I'm in.
Yeah.
Let's get a question from the back, because we haven't gotten anywhere back here. You, sir? Okay, you're up.
Delightful evening, by the way.
Thank
First
you.
of all, I'll say that. 1984 Bangles at San Diego State University. You were everywhere. So, do you remember seeing me there? I was waiting.
Third row back. Yeah.
I'm glad you were there.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
Was it a good show? Is it okay?
It was awesome.
Really?
Spectacular.
84.
Yeah, 84.
Ooh.
Yep.
Wow.
So, the question is Jay involved in the movie also?
Well, we don't know that yet. We don't. No.
Cool.
Well, then I could just tell him exactly what he was supposed to do.
That could get ugly.
No, I think the camera should be over here, and I think he should be over the shoulder on Jane as she's looking. No. Only if Jay wants to. I know I would be in safe hands with him because he's such a badass filmmaker. He's so talented. Yay, Jay!
Indeed. You, sir?
Well, I'm doing the book tour. I would like to. You mean with the Bangles or music? I would love to. I've just been so busy, but. I think that would be very fun because there's been a little bit of music at some of these events. It was an excuse to sing and play a bit. Yeah, I'd love to do that, actually. I'd love to do it in one of those, in a more acoustic-y way where it's like storytelling and talking and, kind of a little bit different from just going out on the stage and just being loud and just playing music and not having, I like the intimacy of this kind of event. I really do.
It's nice.
It's really nice. Yeah.
It humanizes the experience.
It does.
Doesn't it? Yes.
First of all, I just want to say that.
Yay.
But for your screenplay, have you thought about right?
Well, part of me somewhere deep inside me would love to write the songs that are mentioned in the book, like not just the ones that are chapter headings, but the ones that Jane Start, the protagonist, is they're like the songs that we end up, talking about a lot in the book. So yeah. I do have a goal of that, and now that I'm sort of at this phase, it keeps coming up like that. Now I actually have a beat to just kind of try to write those 2 songs.
Very cool.
Yeah, and so that's a challenge, but may the best song win. If somebody else, I want those songs to be so good and catchy and moving that I'll take the best song, whoever writes it.
Did you ever start to hear that song she's working on in your head? Did it come to you?
I had like little kind of inklings of it, but again, just even with some of the characters, I had a really strong visualization of them, and others were more amorphous. Many of the characters really were very much, I pictured them pretty distinctly. And I know what I want the songs to evoke, but I don't have I'm not there yet. It's the next challenge.
Nice.
Great question.
Yes, you, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't mean to.
Oh, no.
Okay. He's been waiting for that.
I wanted to ask you how different, and I hear it is, how different is screenwriting from the novel scene? And did someone help you with screenwriting?
No, I mean, I had someone help me with the final draft program, just the physical using of it, because it's unlike novel writing. You can't get into a flow with final draft because you have to pull down character, transition, action. It's like there's no way to really feel the flow that you experience from writing, because I know you write novels and nonfiction, but like when you're just, I wasn't even worrying about where to put a paragraph indent. In my first writing of the book, I was really just kind of gushing out what I was hearing the characters say. It's way less formal than writing a screenplay.
Sure.
I'll say that. Yeah. So
go ahead.
So
I'll come back to you.
You wouldn't mind Taylor Swift or like Justin Bieber making your song?
Oh, that would be good. That would be good. I mean, may the best song win.
I mean,
that's
that's it,
where
right?
I'm at with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if somebody, a great songwriters like that, wanted to send me something, I'm all ears.
I was going to say we need to put out a challenge.
Yes, that's a good idea. That's a really good
What
idea.
would you put on the illustration of the cover?
That's such a good question. So when I heard that Judy Clain, who's the senior editor at Little Brown, the day that Jay will remember in May when I got this offer from Little Brown unexpectedly, I just to do my homework like I like to do, I Googled Maria Semple, who wrote Where'd You Go, Bernadette, and Judy Clain, and up popped an article Maria had written about her experience of seeing her cover for Where'd You Go, Bernadette for the first time. And I'm reading this really lovely essay that she wrote about how Judy had just had this like kind of amorphous, kind of cool conversation with her, just kind of picking Maria's brain about what if she was visualizing anything for the cover, since Judy had edited the book. And they had this conversation. Judy was like, yeah, okay. Was able to take Maria's, whatever she was throwing at Judy for her inspirations for the cover. Cut to a few weeks go by or however long it was, and then she gets this email. Oh. And it says, your book cover in the subject line or something like that. And her hands started shaking. I'm just reenacting what I read in this article, but I was really picturing it and thinking, whoa, that will be me someday. I'll go through the same experience. So she was too afraid to open it. If my memory serves, she went over to where her husband was working in the house, and she opened it, but they looked at it together, and boom, there was that colorful Where'd You Go, Bernadette, with the big glasses, and it was like an iconic cover. So the day came when my cover, I opened the thing and it says, your book cover. And yeah, it was, and Jay, you weren't there that day. I was like looking all over for you, but I had to do it alone. I had to click on the picture alone, and basically that's what popped up.
Nice.
And I was like, wow, what a crazy color green. That's so cool. And this and that. Very tiny changes were made. Like the lipstick was red and it had to be pink.
Yeah, it had to be pink.
Because there's a whole run about Jane, and there are she kind of categorizes people there's a certain kind of person who can pull off bright red lipstick. I've never personally been one of them. But, there are people who really can work red lipstick. So, but I just knew that like Jane, I didn't think red was right because she went in the book on this whole run about red lipstick girls. Yeah. And so it had to be pink. But so they changed it to pink.
And that was my first thought was, they got the lipstick right.
Yeah. but because the person who made the cover may have read excerpts from the book, but didn't know that, Jane wouldn't wear red lipstick. She doesn't feel that it suits her.
Right.
But that was so easy to fix. Yeah. So, but basically what you see is what I saw that day.
Yeah. It's interesting because you don't visualize Jane, but yet your cover visual.
I know.
Totally. It works, doesn't it? Yeah. We have time for one more question so that we can have books signed.
Yes.
You, sir.
We see you and your band in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
We have to. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for putting that into the universe.
Yeah.
I've now attended the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame twice. Once was to induct the Zombies, who I love.
Awesome.
Which was so fun, and I was really nervous, but it was so fun at the party afterwards to see people that I hadn't seen since the 80s, like Brian May from the band Queen, Simon Le Bon, and John Taylor, and then reconnecting with John Taylor because we had so many fun adventures back in the 80s. Our band and Duran Duran, it was so fun. And but you know, I don't know. And then the Go-Go's got inducted, and I helped them out a little bit because there was, you know, I just helped make that happen in my own little behind-the-scenes way. Their schedules were kind of messed up, and one of the members wasn't sure she could make it, and then I just basically said, "You can't miss this.
Totally.
You cannot miss this."
Yeah.
It's having been there myself and known what a love fest it is, just in the room with all your peers and musicians that you idolize. It was just, So it all worked out beautifully.
In 6 years.
Now that would be fine. I will be 70 then, but other than that.
You're like, I want it sooner, please.
Yeah,
Can we pull that back a little
bit sooner than that.
Well, thank you everyone for coming, and thank you, Susanna.
Thank you.